Now, Jeremy Corbyn could face difficulties forming his top team after a decision on whether to allow MPs to vote on who makes up the shadow cabinet were delayed until at least the end of November. And despite his calls for unity, his closest ally, John McDonnell, was involved in a public row today with senior backbencher Yvette Cooper. Well, I'm joined now from Liverpool by Guardian columnist Owen Jones and Richard Angell, the director of New Labour pressure group Progress. And I'll start with you, Owen. So this is just 24 hours after Jeremy Corbyn handed out an olive branch and called on the party to unite by wiping the slate clean, and it looks like the party is far from united.
Do you know what? I'm sitting next to Richard Angell, who is on, I think it's fair to say, a different wing of the party for me. I'm on the left, he's on the right, the Progress wing. The centre-left, he'd call it, but we're on different wings of the party. But do you know what? On everything from, for example, opposing, we're both proud products of comprehensive education, as far as I know. We're opposed the introduction of selection education, the privatisation of the National Health Service, supporting investment in the economy rather than cuts. There is so much that unites us. And the funny thing is, back in the 1980s, you had all these rows about nationalising the top two in the monopolies. We're not talking about that anymore. We're talking about economic policies which are mainstream, social democratic. Let's support investment instead of sucking demand out the economy. Let's balance the nation's books in a way that doesn't have an adverse effect on the living standards of on the majority. And I just think actually at the moment, a lot of it is posturing on all sides, when I do think what unites the Labour Party is far greater than what divides us. We can, yes, think of lots of things, I'm sure, that divide us, but on everything from workers' rights, opposing the government's attack on trade unions, investment in the economy, the housing crisis, there's actually quite a lot of agreement. Wouldn't it be nice to have a conference where we, instead of just having rows about argy-bargies about where we disagree, we just focused on that? What do you think?
And there's a lot that people can take out of Owen's playbook in that he's wanted to be generous to people of different political traditions in the Labour Party and make sure they stay in the party. And I think there's an example being set by some, and that others you just feel that we're kind of going backwards, and they want to be in a place where they don't emulate the new politics that they say they support, and I think that's disappointing.
But I think we all have to set that example. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right. And I think, for me, you know, when we have these, inflammatory rhetoric, we can all indulge in that. If we want to, divide the Labour Party, then we'll indulge in that sort of rhetoric. But if we want to talk about issues, policies, we'll be a lot more united than people give us credit for.
OK, Owen and Richard, it's starting to look like a bit of a love-in, but let's talk about John McDonnell here, because how do you feel then about Yvette Cooper's calls for him to apologise for attacking former MP Esther McVeigh? John McDonnell standing by it and refusing to apologise.
Who's this to?
Owen, what do you think?
He shouldn't use that sort of language at all. I don't use that sort of language. Look, tomorrow I'm going to be at Progress. So I'm on the left of the party. I'll be speaking at a Progress event because I believe, even though I have lots of disagreements with Progress, there's lots that we should be uniting on. And with the Conservatives, look, if you take what happened, because the argument is about disability policies under the last Tory government, I've met disabled people whose lives have been destroyed, frankly, by the policies of the last Tory government. That doesn't mean I would use that sort of language. I wouldn't ever use that sort of language. So I think we should be passionate in our opposition to what the Conservatives do. I wish there was a bit more anger about some of the policies the government has introduced, the last Tory government, when it comes to disabled people. Actually, from all wings of the Labour Party, there's been MPs who have been very passionate in opposing the stripping away of support for disabled people that has driven many disabled people into horrible hardship and all the rest. But let's stick to that. Let's stick to policies that doesn't alienate, the rest
John
of the
McDonnell won't apologise. Why didn't he just apologise and move on? It was just yesterday we were talking about wiping the slate clean. This was a comment from 2 years ago, and he refuses to wipe the slate clean. It always seems to be John McDonnell where the mask slips and it comes back, and we get us away from our core message of why the Tories are wrong and what maybe some of the things are. I'm looking for Jeremy Corbyn to come forward with a plan we can unite behind. It seemed yesterday it was a demand for followership, and what he needs to do is command leadership. And I'm yet to see that. And John McDonnell's his closest ally, he's his closest friend, and he needs to emulate the behaviour of the new politics that he has talked about so many times.
I think that's the thing with a fresh slate, is that from now on, all wings of the Labour Party should avoid using language which is inflammatory. Most voters just don't like it, do they? But all they want to hear about is policies and issues. Where
it's
do
ugly, and it keeps us off the news for the politics and just puts it up there about people's comments.
We just need an inspiring alternative. And actually, I do think what the Labour leadership, a lot of things we've been talking about, I thought Jamie Corbyn did a great speech yesterday talking about we need an alternative to the Tories, we need to take the fight to them, we need to stop speaking
Owen,
amongst ourselves.
Richard, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave that with you guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.